Logical expressions. When writing application programs, you often need to formulate conditions. These are used mostly to control the flow of the program or to decide whether to exit a processing block. You formulate a condition using logical expressions. A logical condition can be either true or false. Comparing data objects. You have two ways to compare data objects. You can make comparisons between different data types, or you can compare strings. When you compare different data types, you use the following operators to make the comparison. You can use the operator EQ, meaning equal to, or you can use the equal sign. You can use the NE, meaning not equal to, or you can use the different sign using less than and greater than. You can use it either way, first less than and then greater than, or first greater than and then less than. You can use LT for less than. You can use LE for less than or equal to. GT for greater than. GE for greater than or equal to. When you compare strings, you use different operators. For example, you use the CO operator, that it means contains only. This is very useful, for example, if you want to know if there is a certain character inside of a string. You can use the CN operator, contains not only. The CA contains any character or set of characters that you specify. NA contains not any. CS contains string and you specify another string. NS contains no string. CP contains pattern. You specify a specific pattern that you want to find in a string. And NP contains no pattern and you specify the specific pattern also. Combining several logical expressions, and or. To combine several logical expressions together in one single expression, which is true only if all of the component expressions are true. Link the expressions with AND. On the other side, to combine several logical expressions together in one single expression, which is true if at least one of the components expressions is true, link the expression with OR. Basically, the difference here is you are evaluating if all of the expressions are true, and in this case with the OR, you are evaluating if at least one of the component expressions is true. To negate the result of a logical expression, you can precede it with the NOT operator. Let's take a look at a SAP video inside the system and let's practice with these logical expressions. Okay, so let's practice some logical expressions. So basically, we're going to write a program called C logical expressions, and that program is going to ask for input, it's going to ask for a number, and it's going to ask for a string. We're going to use that input to compare against a constant previously declared in our program. We're going to compare two integers, and we're going to use the logical expressions equals, not equals, greater than, less than, greater or equal to, and less than or equal to compare to against our constant. And we're going to compare the string of the input to the string of our constant using the string operators. So let's navigate to our transaction. I'm going to make this smaller. So we navigate to SE80, Object Navigator, and we create a new program. This program is going to be called C Logical Expressions without top include. We write a title for our program, Logical Expressions. It's going to be an executable program, and we save. So now we can start typing our program. So let's ask for some input. So we use parameters, the name of our parameter, pin number, and the type of our parameter. This is going to be our first input, a number, type integer. And our second input is going to be a string, type string. Let's declare our constant to use for comparing our inputs. So I'm going to declare a constant. I use the letter C for constant 10 because it's going to be the value that I'm going to assign. This constant is going to be type integer, and it's going to have the value 10. And I used another constant. This is going to be the constant for our string. It's going to be type. Let's use this content type string, and the value of this string is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F. Now let's write to the screen our constants so we can remember them, and you can use them as a reference. So first we write a new line, and then we start writing our sample number, that is our constant, C10. We write another new line, so the compilator writes below. So we use write sample string, and we write our sample string. Now let's compare our input to our constant. So we start using an if. Our parameter pin number equals our constant. Then we're going to go into the if, and we write a new line, and then we're going to write our parameter pin number equals our constant. So the program is going to write to the screen only if our parameter equals 10. Let's copy and paste that, and now let's try with not equals to practice. So if our parameter doesn't equal 10 or does not equal 10, so it's going to write p number not equals 10. Paste one more time. Now let's try with the greater than operator to compare two integers. And if it is greater, then we're going to write greater than. One more time, I copied this. And now we try with less than. And I'm missing greater than or equal, or less than or equal. So now I'm using all of my operators to compare my number. I save my program. As you can see, I have some capitals letter and some lowercase letter. I can use the pretty printer to correct this. I'm gonna show you later on how to configure the pretty printer so it always converts to uppercase your keywords. So now I check my syntax and I activate my program. And I can run it. So for example, if I write number 1, it prints to the screen the sample number is 10, 1 it does not equals 10, 1 is less than 10, and 1 is less than or equal than 10. If I type in 23, for example, 23 not equals 10, 23 is greater than 10 if 23 is greater than or equal than 10. And if I write 10, for example, 10 equals 10, and it also falls into these other two categories, so that's why the program considers them and prints it to the screen. Now let's try comparing strings. Comparing strings can be tricky because of the use of these operators and their meanings. Let's try every operator so we can understand how to compare strings. So let's write an if, and this time we're going to ask for the pstring or the parameter contains only our constant. So if basically this is asking if our input string contains only our string constant, then if that is true, we're going to write a new line and we're going to write to the screen our parameter pstring contains only, we can read it like this also, contains only characters from the string ABC. We can write it like this for a better understanding of the operator CO. So this is contains only. Let's save and let's try using this operator in the screen. But first we're going to comment the first section of our code for the numbers. We press Ctrl less than on our keyboard and the system adds an asterisk and comments all of our lines, and then we can minimize using this. So now we can save and activate our program and we can run it. So now let's try with the parameter string. So for example, let's write characters that we know that are going to be contained in our sample string. So for example, AAA, BBB, CCC, all our characters contained in our sample. Let's run. Remember our sample string was ABCDF. Our string AABBCCC contains only characters from our original string ABCDF. So it is true and the program prints it to the screen. Let's go back and let's copy and paste this to try the other string operators. So that is CO, then we have CN, and then we have CA. CN is contains not only, and you can read it as contains not only characters from the string, and then we print our string. and then contains any. And this one, you can read it like this for a better understanding. You can read it as contains at least one character from the string, and then we print to the screen our constant string. So this means this string contains at least one character from the string. Let's activate and let's try those two operators. Let's run it. So for example, if we want our program to go into the second if, let's try with adding the character C, and we run it. So at first it displays the string contains not only characters from the string A, B, C, D, F. Why? Because it contains a Z character that is not contained in this string. And it also goes into the second if, because it contains at least one character from the string A, B, C, D, E, F. In this case, it contains two characters. A and B are at least part from this string. Let's go back. Now, let's try with, let's copy and paste, remember. Let's try with an A. This means contains not any. And you can read this as contains no characters from. Let's write it two more times, and let's try CS and NS. So CS means contains string. So we can read this as contains the character string. And S means contains no string. And we can read this as does not contain. Let's try it. Before trying it, let's write the other two. CP contains pattern, and NP, that is, contains no pattern. So we can write this as the complete string, our string, matches the pattern in our constant. So if it matches the pattern, then it's going to write it to the screen. and we can read this as our string does not match our constant. I forgot the commas here. We save, check the syntax, activate, and let's run our program and let's test it. So for example, let's try that contains not any. So if we type this string, you can see the program is printing out the string contains not only characters from the string ABCDF, because it has the Y and the C that are not part of this string. And it also prints the string contains no characters from this string. It also prints the string does not contain our string, and YYYCCC does not match ABCDEF. If we were to write a complete pattern, for example, trying the CP operator, as you can see, the system prints contains only characters from the string, yes. ABCDF contains at least one character from the string, that is also true. Here it prints it to the same line because we forgot to write the new line, but don't worry about it. So the ABCDF contains the character string, so in here it entered the if for the CP and it printed to the screen, and the complete string ABCDF matches the pattern ABCDEF. We can keep trying with different strings to see different results. For example, ABCDTSH. So you can see ABCDTSH does not match ABCDF, and we can see the different results. Let's try using the AND and the OR operator. So we can ask for example, if we want to build an interval of numbers and then input a number into the screen and then evaluate if that number is inside the interval and then print to the screen the number is between this number and this other number. So we can write that code using the AND ABAP statement. So let's start by writing a new line, and then we write an if our number is greater than or equal to 0 and our number is less than or equal to 10, then we write to the screen the number is between 0 and 10. Then we use an else if, we use a nested if to ask for a next interval or range. So else if our number is greater or equal, or is greater than 10, and our number is less than or equal than 20, then we write to the screen one more time, number is between 10 and 20. Let's make a range of 50. So let's write this 2 more times or copy and paste. So now it's 10 and 20, 20 and 30, 30 and 40, and 40 and 50. The same goes for the message 20 and 30, 30 and 40, and 40 and 50. And so now we can save, check our syntax, activate our program. And now let's run it. So for example, if we were to type the number 5, we forgot to comment the string section, so that is why it prints this part of the program. But we are interested in the range, so the number is between 0 and 10. Yes, our input 5 is between 0 and 10. Let's go back and let's comment the strings section. So we comment up to this part. We activate one more time. If you press Ctrl and F3 key in your keyboard, you can activate also. That is the shortcut. So let's run. We press F8 in our keyboard. That is the shortcut for running our program also. And now let's input 15, for example. So our number is between 10 and 20. Yes. For example, 49. And our number is between 40 and 50. So you can play with the different operators and the logical expressions to build a program of your convenience.